You know the time for change is limited. Ignoring this doesn't alter reality. If there were true urgency, you wouldn't be hesitating. If there were a real commitment, you wouldn't be trapped in this cycle. Tomorrow doesn't exist if you don't act today. It's not a dilemma, it's an uncomfortable choice. Observe the situation as it is. You see the promises that were never fulfilled. You've noticed the plans that are always postponed. You've understood that hope is not a strategy. And you, waiting, justifies adapting while remaining. Nothing changes because you don't change. The pattern is clear. You call it a phase when it's really a stalemate. You call it an opportunity when it only brings wear and tear. The dependence remains because you maintain it. Not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of the unknown, of what comes next. Those in control don't need explanations. Those who accept justify their choices and live in the expectation of changes that don't arrive. Each passing day is another lost chance. Each moment without action reaffirms your inertia. And the reality is simple. You are not in motion. No one will do this for you. Staying still is a decision, and that decision has a cost. The naked truth is that nothing changes because change is not convenient for those who benefit from your persistence. As long as you continue to accept what is insufficient, the situation remains favorable to the other. You don't need more time, you don't need more empty words. What you need is to decide between breaking free or starting over. That point doesn't arrive on its own. You need to reach it. The reality has already been presented. The echo of your thoughts resonates in the void of what could have been. You wonder where the promises were lost, and when you began to accept them as part of your routine, time moves forward while you stay in the same position. And reality begins to weigh down. Every time you look back, you see a repeated cycle. Some laughs, some tears, but everything very similar. You create excuses to justify what doesn't hold up. A conversation here, a message there, and hope disguises itself as expectation. But it's only that, a thin cloak that covers the desperation for change. The truth is that you have already noticed. It's not about not knowing, it's about not wanting to admit. Inertia is more comfortable. The structure is already set up, and you have forgotten what it would be like to deconstruct it. You allowed others to shape your decisions while you became a spectator of your own life. And now you feel trapped in a cage of your own making. What was once a safe haven now reveals itself as a prison. So you wait. You wait for change from those who have no intention of changing. You wait for actions that will never happen, all the while repeating your own mistakes. The cycle repeats. The same endless conversations, the same missed connections, and with each new day, an alarm fades away slowly. Urgency transforms into complacency. The beat of hope dissolves into indifference. Human nature adapts to what is familiar, even if it means remaining unhappy. You try to convince yourself that dependency is love, but deep down you know it's just a reflection of your fear of being alone. You cling to what you can control, even if it is unsatisfying. The mind creates justifications, while the heart slowly shatters under the weight of an unlived reality. Around you voices whisper, "It's time to go." But you pretend not to hear, pretend that the words have no power. What needs to be done is clear, but what is necessary is too heavy to carry. The resistance grows, and you become a prisoner of your own desire for security. What you need to understand is that this security is an illusion. The comfort you seek does not come from what is around you, but from what resides within you. Each moment lost to indecision is a step further away from what could be. There is no room for doubt when reality has already presented itself so starkly. The bond you maintain with this past is not love, it is addiction. An addiction to a situation that no longer brings happiness or fulfillment. You have allowed yourself to live this way, and now it is time to face the truth. Realize that staying next to something that does not do you good is a choice. That choice requires courage to be undone. The people around you will continue their lives. They cannot carry your burden, nor should they. You refuse to see that the world keeps turning, even if you are standing still. And what may seem like a harmless choice transforms into an invisible prison that stifles your potential. Listen, the sound of boredom is deafening. Opportunities knock on your door, but you ignore them in favor of familiarity. You seek fleeting moments that only prolong the inevitable. And in this way you lose yourself in the illusion that someday things will be different. The truth is this: you have the key, but you are afraid to use it. The fear of the unknown still holds you back. What comes next? Doubt consumes you, and you prefer the small discomfort of the known to the great fear of the unknown. However, life does not wait. It drags you along, even if you do not want it to. It is in the small daily choices that you decide who you will be tomorrow. So, what will you do now? Continue in this disjointed dance or stand up and walk towards the unknown? This moment is yours. The decision is in your hands. The end point does not come to you. You must go to it. And the reality, plain and simple, has already been presented. You know that the echoes of your choice reverberate in every decision. The inner voice that tries to guide you is muffled by the noise of procrastination, and you, at this moment, feel the weight of others' expectations, like a second skin that has become difficult to remove. The people around you have their own lives, concerns, and priorities. You watch your friends move on while you remain paralyzed. Every genuine smile you see reassures you that life waits for no one. But you? You hide behind a facade that no longer represents who you really are. Every conversation with others is a reminder of what is not being lived. You listen to stories of adventures you have never experienced, of achievements you haven't accomplished, and the anguish grows. It's a silent yet piercing pain, like a wound that never heals. What could have been if you had taken that step, if you had chosen to break free? The feeling of being trapped looms larger. You find yourself repeating the same mantra, just a little more time. Tomorrow I'll make a decision. But tomorrow turns into days, weeks, months. And the reality is that the future doesn't bring miraculous changes when you refuse to act in the present. You realize that the cycle isn't limited to just one relationship or situation. It's life itself that seems to revolve around itself. Routine becomes a subtle trap. Small daily habits that were once insignificant now become chains that bind you to a place where you don't want to be. Looking at yourself, you notice the wear and tear. Emotional fatigue is a constant shadow that overshadows your hopes. You try to find solace in social media, in momentary distractions, but nothing seems to fill the internal void. You question yourself. What is real? What is escape? And this reflection leads you to a crucial point, the recognition that you have the capacity to change. The ropes that bind you are, in fact, constructed by your own mind. What more is stopping you from taking this step? The fear of losing what you already have, or the uncertainty of what may come? The familiar is comforting, although you know it is not satisfying. You imagine what it would be like if you could let go of fear and insecurity, if you could explore the unknown without the chains that oppress you. Imagine finding new paths where there are no guarantees, but there is potential, where you are not limited by expectations or labels. You realize that incessant waiting brings no rewards. Life is the product of your choices, and you, at this moment, are living a narrative that does not belong to you. The biggest obstacle is your own adaptation to mediocrity. The cost of your complacency accumulates. The price of self-deception is high, and you start to feel its consequences. Your relationships, your mental health, your well-being, all at risk. Time continues, and the impression that you are missing opportunities becomes more palpable. You sit down to reflect. What do you really want? What would make your soul vibrate? Answers begin to emerge, but they come with doubts. You don't know where to start. It is easier to continue, but the question persists. Do you wish to remain in this limbo? Within you, a small flame struggles to shine, the desire to live fully, to feel fulfilled, and this flame begins to bother you. It drives you to consider the possibility of action. As awareness opens up, you realize that every small gesture can be a sign of internal revolution. Processes of transformation are not instantaneous. They require patience, self-compassion, and above all, courage. Each day is a new opportunity to leave behind old patterns. You begin to understand that each step, no matter how small, counts, and so you decide to make small changes. You may not know exactly where that will take you, but you know that staying still is no longer an option. You start making small but firm plans. A new hobby, a meeting with someone you haven't seen in a long time, a frank conversation with yourself about what you really want. These seemingly simple decisions reactivate something inside you, a force that was dormant. And throughout this process, you find yourself letting go of the weight of others' expectations. Freedom begins to emerge in the spaces left by doubt. The challenges will still be there. The attempts to go back, to revert to the old ways, can be strong, but the flame inside you grows. The reality that once seemed oppressive is now an open field of possibilities. Your heart races. You know that there is still a road to travel, but the first step has already been taken. Reality now presents itself differently. The cycle that once was suffocating transforms into a new route, and you, finally, take control of your narrative. You are no longer waiting, you are living. You wake up one morning and feel something different. The weight hasn't disappeared, but the perception of it has changed. The flame that started to shine now creates an internal warmth. A new motivation dawns. The small changes become habits, and you begin to notice how your energy flows outward. Strange looks used to intimidate you. Now they just reflect your inner state. The everyday conversations that used to seem like a burden are now genuine interactions. Every smile is a small victory. Every laugh removes another grain of sand from the place where you were stuck. Days that once dragged now seem to pass lightly. You observe the world differently. The colors are more vibrant. The sounds have a new cadence. The voices that once sounded like distant echoes now tell stories of living people full of dreams. You find yourself thinking about the narratives you could have missed if you hadn't made the decision to act. Social media, a source of anguish and comparison, becomes a showcase of inspiration. Those who were once just unfamiliar faces are now examples of lives being fully lived. And this doesn't bother you. On the contrary, it ignites a desire to connect, a desire to be part of this dance of life. With each step, you recognize the emotional traps you used to create. Limiting beliefs begin to crumble. I can't. I don't have time. I'm not good enough. These inner voices, which were once constant, begin to grow quieter. You remember the broken promises of the past and compare them with the determination now cultivated. What changed were not the external circumstances, but the internal disposition. You compel yourself to confront new situations, accept invitations you previously would have declined, participate in social events you once avoided. Every small gesture is a step towards self-confidence. And when doubt arises, you observe it, but do not let it dominate you. Instead of sinking into insecurity, you choose curiosity. What can I learn here? You ask yourself. And thus, your conversations with others change. You no longer seek the validation you once needed. Instead, you share your experiences and listen actively. The act of being present becomes a gift to you and those around you. You give space to other people's stories while revealing your own. Over time, you reflect on the relationships you've built and those you maintained out of inertia. Some begin to decay due to a lack of reciprocity. You realize that some connections were merely filling empty spaces, while others flourish and become firm roots that withstand winds and storms. You also notice that some old ties unravel. There is no resentment. There is only a recognition that everyone has their own path. The freedom to let go becomes a balm. The fear of loneliness transforms into an appreciation of solitude. And in that open space, you begin to find yourself. It is at this moment that you dedicate yourself to exploring new interests. An old hobby resurfaces. You discover that you have always had a talent for painting. The colors on the canvas become an extension of your emotions. Each brushstroke is not just an artistic expression, but a liberation of accumulated feelings. The paint mixes with your essence, and you find beauty in the creative process. What was just a distraction becomes a portal to the discovery of yourself. Meanwhile, you join a group of people who share the same love for art. They encourage you to expose yourself, to show your work. The initial nervousness gradually transforms into excitement. At the first exhibition, you find yourself surrounded by admiring looks, and the feeling of being seen brings a type of validation that you did not expect. It is not about approval. It is about the recognition that you exist beyond what others thought of you. Within this new circle, you are surprised to realize that the vulnerabilities you once hid are now bridges that connect you to other lives. Unique stories, all going through their own cycles of pain and transformation. By sharing your fears, you free yourself even more. There is strength in the collective. And you begin to understand that, although you have made this journey alone, you do not need to continue that way. The small daily choices have transformed into a map. You are not sure of the final destination, but the path is now full of possibilities. Reality remains raw, but you observe it from a new perspective, like a blank canvas waiting for your paint. In this new space of growth, you allow yourself to dream again. Questions like, what do I want for my future, become concrete plans. You start investing in yourself, a new course, planned trips, reconnections with longtime friends. The future, once hazy, now shines with possibilities. And so you realize that you have reached a new understanding. Change is not a finish line, but a series of continuous steps. Each conscious action redefines who you are, and along this path, you discover that true security does not come from control, but from the acceptance that life is made of ups and downs. You have learned to dance with uncertainty. And with each step taken, the echo of potential resonates within you, reminding you that after all you are the author of your own story.